Imagine spending your entire working life counting down to one date. The day you finally stop. The day your pension kicks in. The day you get to breathe. Now imagine someone quietly moving that date further away. That is exactly what is happening right now in the United Kingdom. And most people have no idea it is coming. Today, we are going to walk through everything you need to know about the state pension age, why it is changing, who it affects the most, and most importantly, what you can do right now to protect yourself. Because the worst thing you can do is find out too late. Let's start with where things stand today. Right now, the state pension age in the UK is 66. That is the age at which most people become eligible to claim their state pension. If you were born before a certain date, that number already applies to you. But here is what a lot of people do not realize. That number is already moving. The government has a confirmed plan to raise the state pension age from 66 to 67. That change is being phased in between 2026 and 2028. So if you are approaching your mid-60s, this could affect you sooner than you think. And it does not stop at 67. There are existing proposals on the table to push the pension age up again to 68. The original plan for that increase was to take effect in the 2040s. But recent government reviews have suggested that timeline could be accelerated significantly. We are talking about the mid-2030s rather than the mid-2040s. That is a 10-year shift that affects millions of people who thought they had plenty of time to plan. So why is this happening? To understand that, you need to look at three big forces that are all pushing in the same direction at the same time. The first force is life expectancy. When the state pension was first introduced in the UK, the average person did not live very long past retirement age. The pension was designed as a safety net for the final years of life, not a multi-decade income stream. That has changed dramatically. Today, a man reaching 65 in the UK can expect to live, on average, into his mid-80s. A woman can expect to live even longer. That means the state pension is now being paid out for 20 years or more for many people. That was never the original calculation. And it puts enormous strain on the public finances. The second force is the cost of the triple lock. The triple lock is a policy that guarantees the state pension rises each year by whichever is the highest of three things: inflation, wage growth, or 2.5%. It sounds simple, but the financial impact is massive. In years where wages spike or inflation surges, the pension bill rises sharply. There have been years recently where the triple lock added billions to government spending in a single annual increase. For pensioners, the triple lock is a lifeline. But for the Treasury, it is a growing headache that gets harder to manage every single year. The third force is the overall pressure on public spending. The state pension is one of the single largest items in the UK government budget. We are talking about a cost that runs into hundreds of billions of pounds over time. With an aging population and fewer working-age people paying into the system relative to those drawing from it, the maths becomes increasingly difficult to sustain. So the government faces a choice. Either raise taxes significantly, cut pension benefits, or ask people to work a little longer before they qualify. For now, the path being chosen is the third option. Now here is where it gets personal. Who actually gets hit hardest by a rising pension age? The honest answer is that the impact is not shared equally. Some groups feel the consequences far more than others. Manual workers are at the sharp end. If you have spent your career in construction, manufacturing, care work, or any physically demanding job, working until 67 or 68 is not just inconvenient. It can be genuinely harmful. Your body carries the wear and tear of decades of hard physical labor. The idea of continuing that work for additional years is not a small ask. People with long-term health conditions face a similar challenge. There is a well-documented gap in healthy life expectancy across different parts of the UK. Someone in a deprived area may already be in declining health by their early 60s. Asking those individuals to work longer before claiming a pension they have contributed to all their lives is, to many people, a serious fairness issue. Lower income earners are also disproportionately affected. Wealthier individuals are more likely to have significant private pensions, savings, and investments that give them flexibility. They can retire earlier regardless of what happens to the state pension age. But for people who rely almost entirely on the state pension, every year of delay is a year of financial hardship. And women who were affected by previous pension age increases will remember this pain acutely. The changes made to women's pension ages in the 1990s and 2000s caught many women completely off guard. Thousands had no time to adjust their plans. The WASPI campaign has been fighting for recognition of that impact for years. Any future changes risk repeating that pattern if they are not communicated clearly and in advance. So what does this actually mean for your retirement plans? Let's put some numbers around it, because that is where the reality hits home. The full new state pension right now is worth around £11,500 per year. If your pension age increases by even 1 year, that is £11,500 you do not receive. If it increases by 2 years, that is over £23,000 gone. For someone relying primarily on the state pension, that is not a rounding error. That is a fundamental change to their financial situation. If you are in your 40s right now, you are in the group most likely to be affected. You are far enough from retirement that any legislative changes would apply to you, but close enough that you have real decisions to make now about how you save and plan. If you are in your 50s, you may also be caught by accelerated changes, particularly if proposals to move the age 68 increase forward gain political traction. The key question to ask yourself is this: if my state pension arrived 1 or 2 years later than I expected, would I be financially prepared? For most people, the honest answer is no. And that is not a criticism. It is just the reality of how most working people plan. We focus on the present, deal with the mortgage, raise the kids, handle the car, and tell ourselves we will sort the pension later. The problem is that later has a habit of arriving faster than expected. Let's talk about the triple lock specifically, because there is a separate conversation happening about this that you need to be aware of. The triple lock has been politically protected for years. Both major parties have generally committed to maintaining it because removing it would be deeply unpopular with older voters. But that protection is under increasing pressure. Some economists and policy analysts argue that the triple lock is simply unsustainable in its current form. In years of high wage growth or high inflation, the cost of honoring the triple lock adds enormous sums to the pension bill at short notice. There have been calls to replace it with a double lock, removing the 2.5% floor, or to apply a smoothed average rather than the annual peak figure. No confirmed change has been announced. The triple lock, as of now, remains in place. But if you are building a long-term retirement plan, it would be unwise to assume that the triple lock will exist in exactly its current form for the next 20 or 30 years. Policy can change. Political priorities shift. Building a plan that depends entirely on maximum state pension increases being guaranteed forever is building on uncertain ground. The smarter approach is to treat the state pension as a foundation, not a ceiling. It is a valuable income source. But your long-term financial security should be built on layers. So what should you actually do about all of this? Let's go through the practical steps, and let's be specific rather than vague, because vague financial advice helps no one. The first thing to do is check your state pension forecast. You can do this through the government's Check Your State Pension service on gov.uk. It will show you how much you are currently on track to receive and whether there are any gaps in your national insurance record. This matters because you need 35 qualifying years of national insurance contributions to receive the full new state pension. If you have gaps, perhaps because of time taken off for caring responsibilities, self-employment complications, or periods working abroad, you may be receiving less than you expect. In many cases, you can pay voluntary contributions to fill those gaps, and it is often worth doing the maths on whether that makes financial sense. The second thing is to look at your workplace pension and take it seriously. Auto-enrollment has brought millions of workers into workplace pensions who would not have joined voluntarily. That is genuinely positive. But the default contribution rates are often the bare minimum. If you can afford to increase your contributions, even slightly, the long-term compounding effect is significant. Your employer may also match higher contributions up to a certain point. If that option exists and you are not using it, you are effectively turning down part of your salary. The third step is to think about flexible retirement rather than a hard stop. The traditional model of working full-time until a fixed date and then stopping completely is increasingly rare and, for many people, not financially possible or personally desirable. More and more people are moving into part-time work, consultancy, or freelancing in the years before fully drawing down their pension. This approach can reduce the financial pressure of a delayed state pension. It can also help with the psychological adjustment of retirement, which is something that does not get discussed enough. The fourth step is to simply stay informed. This is genuinely not an area where you can set and forget. Pension policy is evolving. Legislation changes. Government reviews come and go. If you are not paying attention, you can easily find yourself planning for a retirement age that no longer exists by the time you get there. Following reputable financial news sources, checking official government announcements, and speaking with an independent financial advisor every few years is not excessive caution. It is just sensible planning in a world where the rules are changing. There is one more thing worth addressing, and it is the question that sits underneath all of this. Is it fair? People who have paid national insurance contributions for decades have done so with a reasonable expectation of what they would receive and when. Changing those terms, even with long notice periods, feels to many people like moving the goalposts after the game has already started. That frustration is legitimate. It deserves to be acknowledged, not dismissed. At the same time, the structural reality is that a pension system designed for one demographic reality cannot simply be maintained unchanged in a completely different one. The numbers do not lie. People are living longer. The costs are rising. Some form of adjustment was always likely to be necessary. The question is not really whether change will happen. Based on everything we can see, some form of further adjustment to pension age is more likely than not over the coming decades. The question is whether you are in a position where that change will hurt you, or whether you have built enough flexibility into your plans to absorb it. And that is entirely within your control, at least to a meaningful degree. So let's bring this together. The state pension age is 66 right now. It is rising to 67 between 2026 and 2028. Beyond that, there are serious proposals to accelerate the move to 68, possibly into the mid-2030s rather than the 2040s as originally planned. The reasons are clear. Longer life expectancy, the rising cost of the triple lock, and pressure on public finances. The people most affected are those who rely heavily on the state pension, those in physically demanding work, those with health conditions, and those who have not yet built significant private savings. The action steps are also clear. Check your pension forecast. Review your national insurance record. Increase your workplace pension contributions where you can. Think about flexible retirement options. And stay informed as policy continues to develop. The earlier you engage with this, the more choices you have. Waiting is not a neutral decision. Every year you delay reviewing your position is a year of potential contributions or adjustments lost. You have time. Use it well. If you found this useful, subscribing means you will see our next video the moment it goes live. We cover UK retirement and pension updates regularly, and we always aim to explain things simply and without the jargon. Drop a comment below if there is a specific aspect of pension planning you would like us to cover next. We read every one.